Good morning, guys. Today we're going to do some exercises on page 32 and 33. We have a text, and before we read this text, I want to show you some pictures. You can see these pictures on your book. This one. Check. This picture is from an immigration station called Ellis Island. Ellis Island was an immigration station between New York and New Jersey. Lots of people cross this immigration. They said that 40% of the USA citizens can trace at least one their ancestors to Ellis Island. So 40% of the population can trace one family member with Ellis Island. It's a huge number. Yes? Look, the pictures, immigrant children at school in 1890, immigrant housing in New York. Now, we're going to talk about this boy, Matt. Matt was a boy that has some relation with Ireland. Someone from his family is related to Ireland. Can you see here this chart, this pie chart? In this pie chart, we have which part of him is from different nationalities, different ancestors. So we have a big part in here and 4 little ones. We're going to talk about it later. Okay? There is something in this text that talk about potato family. Potato famine was a hard period that happened in Ireland. It was around 110 years that it happened in Ireland. It was a period of disease and also famine. Lots of people died because of the disease and from famine. And why they call potato famine? The problem was in the potato crops, in the potato plantations. They were infected with something. So people got sick and consequently they have no potato to eat. They have no food. And some of them decide to change places. They want to go to a new country, to have a new life. That's why in the USA there are lots of people from Ireland that are Irish. They were from Ireland. That's why in the USA they celebrate St. Patrick's. One of the hugest event from St. Patrick, it is in USA. So let's do our exercise 4. Okay? I'm going to put here and we will read the text.
The stuff we are made of. I am Canadian. Like many of my compatriots, I think of nationality as a pie chart. I am 3/4 Irish, 1/8 Norwegian, 1/8 Swedish, and may contain traces of French and English. The surname is from Norway. I probably am more Irish. Scandinavians tend towards tall, blonde, and handsome, and I tend towards short, dark, and a great personality. In any case, that I am Canadian at all is mere chance. My grandfather's grandfather, Albert, was Norwegian, and emigrated to the United States in the 19th century. He spoke no English. The name Ledding was invented by American immigration officials who misunderstood what Albert said. The name came from the family farm in Norway, where Albert, whose last name was now suddenly Ledding, was born. Growing up in California, Albert married a Swedish girl, Mary Matson. She became very ill, and they farmed out the children they had to various families while she recovered. The Andersons, the family who took care of my grandfather's father, Charles, could not have children. They decided they would keep baby Charles as their own son and ran away to Saskatchewan in Canada. Nobody knew where they were. Until he was 17 years old, Charles thought he was an Anderson. But that all changed when a friend of the Leddings traveled to Canada and by complete chance bumped into the Andersons. It was a shock when he realized that the Andersons' teenage son was Charles Ledding. The Leddings went to Canada to reclaim him. Bringing him back to the U.S., they sent him to school for the first time in his life. He was put in first grade with a group of 6-year-olds. He was 17. After graduating from primary school, able to read somewhat, write somewhat, and do some math, he moved back to Saskatchewan, where he managed a lumber mill. His children, including my grandfather, were born to his first wife, and they weren't fond of his second wife. When Charles lost the use of his legs, his second wife pushed him around the house in a wheelbarrow to avoid spending money on a wheelchair. My grandfather still isn't sure if it was an accident that she pushed him out of the window on the second floor with that wheelbarrow. So many ifs were necessary for me to exist. If Albert's wife had been healthy, Charles wouldn't have been kidnapped. If Charles hadn't been kidnapped, he would never have gone or returned to Saskatchewan. If not for the potato famine, the Irish side of my family wouldn't have come over to Canada. Had my great-great-grandfather spoken better English, my name wouldn't exist ad infinitum. But somehow, through a million stories, a million problems, and a million ifs, we all got here to share stories and create new ones together. All of us, even the most boring and frustrating person we ever come across, are part of an anthology of stories. One that could make the angels laugh and cry for eternity. We are all made of stories.
Okay. This is a text full of ifs. Yes, a nice story. Lots of details about his family. And how could his life be different if it doesn't happen? Yes? All right. Now that we have already read the text, we are going to answer the exercise 4. So, which ethnic group does Matt think he's most related to? It is the big part of the pie chart is Irish. Good. Because he's short, has black hair, he's not blonde, he's not tall as a Norwich. What is the region of his family name? He told us that when his great-grandfather arrived in the immigration station, he said his name, but the immigrant guy didn't understand well, so he wrote wrong. That's the part of. So, it was invented by American immigration. It happens with my surname. My surname from my father is Frelich. And here in Foz do Iguaçu, there are another person with a nickname, a surname similar to mine, but it is the way we write the name is different. Probably they said that probably it was a immigration mistake because they spoke German and maybe they wrote wrong. Number 3. What happened to the children of Albert and Mary? Remember that Mary was sick. So what they did with the kids? So they farmed out to families yes, they give the children for different families. How did the family manage to reunite with their son Charles? So once a friend of the family traveled to Canada and find Charles. Yes, and they found Charles. What did they do to reunite with their son? They traveled to Canada. Okay. How successful was Charles at primary school? Remember that Charles was 16, yeah? And the kids were 6. Is it 16? Let me confirm the age that he was. He was 17. Yes, he was 17 and the kids in his classroom were 6. So he studied with kids because he couldn't write, he couldn't do maths, he couldn't read. So you can say this, he couldn't write, read, and do math. Or solve math problems if you prefer. What did Charlie's second wife do to save money? Charlie couldn't walk, so he needs a wheelchair. But his wife did something to save money. What did she do? She used a wheelbarrow to carry him. Next one. Why did the Irish part of Matt's family immigrate to United States? They immigrate to United States because of the potato famine that happened in Ireland. It was a long period. Okay? If you want, you can pause the video and then we continue in exercise 5. Okay? Great. Exercise 5. They misunderstood what grandfather's grandfather said. Who are they? They misunderstood. So the word they in your book, it is underlined the word they. So the word they related to someone. So when the grandfather arrived in the Ellis Island, they misunderstood what he said. Who is they in the sentence? The immigration officials or agents. Nobody knew where they were. Who are they? Remember that Charles was living in a different place with a family called Anderson. Yes? And nobody knew where the Andersons were. Okay. It was a shock when he realized that their son was Charles. Who is he and who does there refer to? So someone that was traveling to Canada realized that that boy was Charles. Who realized? Quem que se deu conta? A friend, a family friend. And their son. Their son is the Andersons. Okay. This is a good exercise to be on your test. He was put in the first grade with a group of 6 years old. Who is he? Who couldn't read, who couldn't write, who couldn't do math? And the school decided to put him to study with kids with 6 years old. Who is he? He is Charles. Good. Okay, guys, that's it for today. I hope you liked the class. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.